Something about the quiet that has settled around Eamonn Holmes feels heavier than the usual pause between television seasons. 4 months have stretched out since the stroke that took him off air in April, and in that stretch the familiar morning presence that once filled so many living rooms has become a space people keep glancing toward, waiting for a voice that has not yet returned. Viewers who grew up with him on breakfast television, who watched him move from ITV to Sky and then to GB News, have noticed the absence more sharply than any official statement could measure. The chair he once occupied sits empty in a different way now. It is not the temporary gap of a holiday or a minor illness. It carries the weight of someone who has already fought through years of chronic pain, spinal surgery, hip replacements, and the quiet indignities of reduced mobility. When the stroke arrived, it felt less like a sudden shock and more like another chapter in a long, exhausting story that many of us had been quietly hoping would ease. Reports have circulated that his eldest son Declan has stepped in to manage day-to-day affairs. Sources close to the situation describe a deliberate protectiveness, a decision to shield his father from anything that might add further strain. Work-related matters, they say, now pass through Declan. Social media has fallen silent. The last public glimpse many remember is a photograph of grandchildren holding a handmade sign, the spelling imperfect, the love unmistakable. Eamonn himself captioned it with a determination to get well soon. That small, human moment has lingered longer than any polished statement. Inside the studio, the atmosphere has shifted in ways audiences can sense even from home. Ellie Costello has carried the breakfast program forward with a steadiness that colleagues privately admire. Yet some who speak to her say the weight of keeping the show intact has been heavier than it appears on camera. A relatively newer face asked to hold the center while one of television's most recognizable anchors recovers is no small ask. Viewers online have noticed the different chemistry, the slight adjustments in pacing, the moments when the conversation reaches for a familiar presence that is not there. It is not criticism. It is recognition of how much one person can shape the feel of a morning. GB News has been clear in its public response. The channel has described certain claims of limited contact as cruel and untrue, emphasizing that both Eamonn and his family have asked for privacy while recovery remains the priority. That tension between private need and public curiosity sits at the heart of what makes this story linger. Television audiences form quiet bonds with the people who speak into their kitchens every day. When those voices fall silent for months, speculation fills the space almost automatically. Yet the most responsible response is the one that resists turning recovery into drama. What many longtime viewers seem to feel is a complicated mixture of concern and respect. Concern because the man who once joked his way through early mornings has endured more physical hardship in recent years than most of us will ever face on camera. Respect because he has always been open about the cost of that hardship. He has spoken about the humiliation of needing help with the smallest tasks, about the ageism he sensed in an industry that prizes energy over experience. Those admissions made him more human, not less. They also make the current silence more poignant. There is something almost cinematic in the way the story has unfolded without a clear next scene. No dramatic return date. No detailed medical bulletin. Just the slow, private work of healing, managed carefully by family, while a television channel continues without its most familiar face. Viewers keep returning to the same quiet question: how much of the man we knew will be able to step back into that early morning light, and on what terms? Perhaps the deepest part of the conversation is not about schedules or contracts at all. It is about the way television creates the illusion of intimacy. We feel we know these presenters. We notice when their energy dips, when their movements change, when the sparkle in the eye softens. When one of them disappears for months, the absence registers as personal. That is why the reports, the denials, the protective silence from his son, and the quiet professionalism of his co-host all land with emotional weight. They are not simply industry gossip. They are the visible edges of a private struggle that still belongs, first and foremost, to Eamonn and those closest to him. Maybe what stays with audiences is not any single headline, but the sense that a long career is being rewritten in real time by the limits of the body. And that, for all the speculation, the most human response may simply be patience, and the hope that when he is ready, the chair will still be there, waiting without pressure.